Tallahassee area, Big Bend area high school football fans. Welcome to another edition of the Extra Point. I'm Mark Adams, and I'm here with my tag team partner, as always, Coach Johnny Cofield. Coach, what's going on?
What's up, Mark? What's happening? Everything going cool?
Man, Coach, we had a great weekend of football, opening week of football. Unfortunately, we had a lot of teams, local area teams, that fell by the wayside. Just was a really rough go of it. Had weather issues and really a couple of cancellations. But let's go ahead and jump into the 4Q rewind. Let's go ahead and run down some scores from last week. Florida High takes on crosstown rival Gabby, pivotal city matchup, and it was all Florida High. The weather delay was so bad that they did not really get a chance to kick off until 9:25. Still was able to get the game in, but it was Saturday by the time they concluded. But Seminoles were really just unfazed by the weather. They took it 57-28 over Gabby. Really just shutting out the Cougars 23-0 in the second half. Quarterback Drew Farrow was the next man up, replacing Trey Donaldson. Had a great game, was 11 of 17 passing for 196 yards, and then ran for another 57 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then new addition Ryder Popple had 135 all-purpose yards, while Michael Danzy ran for another 2 scores. Linebacker Jordan Gilly led the defense with 10 tackles. Lone bright spot for the Cougars, Chase Gillespie was 121 yards rushing on the ground on 18 carries, and he had 2 scores. So really, Coach, just in that game, it just was really the weather was a factor at first, just slowing everything down. But Florida High just was unfazed. They really beat Gabby in all 3 phases of the game.
Mark, that is a big surprise. Gabby is a perennial top team in the area, and for them to go into Florida High had to be a big disappointment to Coach McCray. Had high expectations on the year, some great players over there at Gabby. I hope they can get it turned around before the season gets in the middle of the district play.
Meanwhile, let's go out to Niceville, where Lincoln fell to the Eagles on the road. Niceville is always a tough place to play, but Lincoln was fairly competitive early and just kind of let the game slip away, committing 6 turnovers. Anytime you give the ball back to the other team 6 times, you hurt your chances in the ability to win. 4 interceptions, 2 fumbles lost. And really just in that tough road environment. They were also on a weather delay. And that just seems to kind of be the factor here as we go through some of these games, as Lincoln opens up the season with a loss, falling to Niceville 24-17. And you know, turnovers. That's going to be the theme here as we go through these scores.
Well, Mark, I know that's a disappointing to the new head coach, Jimmy Tyson, but I think they will get things turned around. They got some great players at Lincoln. The game really does not affect their district play, so I think they'll be fine.
Now, also on the road, the Raiders were able to find a replacement game in lieu of their matchup against Leon. They plugged Bartram Trail into the schedule, and they hit the road on I-10, taking on Bartram Trail out in Jacksonville. And the Raiders' offense really just bottled up. It was really kind of unfamiliar to see Townsend just kind of stymied and really frustrated. They were held scoreless until the second quarter, and this is in another rain-delayed loss and on a rain-soaked field with poor field conditions. Raiders just not putting out their best showing. They fall 24-7. Bartram Trail just really got after quarterback Michael Townsend, and they forced a host of 3-and-outs. That was really kind of the theme for the Raiders, not really getting on the board until in the third quarter. And you know, this is just kind of the theme where it just really was just a poor weekend of football, bad weather conditions, and just really not a lot of teams not able to be their familiar selves.
Yeah, Mark, the Raiders went on the road, played a tough opponent, playing one of the best teams in Jacksonville area, one of the best teams in the state of Florida, a well-coached team, and ran into a buzzsaw. Not a great start for the season, but also it doesn't affect them in district play, and it should be forgotten by now. And I think they'll get things turned around. They have a pretty young team at Rickards, and Coach Lewis went to the state last year. should have a better showing at his next game. I think they play Leon High School.
Then another road contest, Madison County crossing state lines, heading into Valdosta, and really just and this is just uncharacteristic to see the Cowboys fall in this fashion, but losing to Valdosta 42-0. And for Madison County, this has just been kind of one of those things where they talked about the reboot earlier in the season. Really wanted to get established with trying to reclaim what their kids were really speaking about was just get back to their former glory, living up to their standard. And this was just just a really awful outing for the Cowboys. Being shut out like that on the road in a tough place. Anybody who's been to Valdosta can tell you that's one of the toughest places to play in America. Madison O-line uncharacteristically giving up 5 sacks to the Wildcats defense, and just really that score was 52-0. And just the ways that Madison was just kind of struggling throughout the ball game, just really trying to find their rhythm, and they were never able to get on the same page. I think weather kind of ended the game a little bit earlier as there was a running clock late in the ball game, but still for the Cowboys, this is just kind of unfamiliar territory, and I know Coach Cole will be trying to work frantically try to get this fixed.
Well, going to Valdosta was quite a step up for a 1A school playing a big time rival. It's not very far. They're not too far from each other, and a lot of the kids, a lot of the area follow each other. So Valdosta was a test, but I don't think that will affect their season. They won't play too many teams close to what they played on Friday night. And once again, I think these guys, Coach Cole has been a great coach. He'll get his guys rallied, and they'll turn it around next week.
So then we move towards we go back to the Jacksonville area. Wakulla also heading down I-10. They take on Ed White. And really the game was kind of back and forth. It was a slugfest. Also in poor field conditions, but the War Eagles really gave Ed White all they had. Unfortunately, they fall 20-13, had an opportunity to score late in the ball game and just was not able to move the ball effectively. But yeah, most people who were at the game just described it as a back and forth slugfest. Both teams giving each other their best shot, both offensively and defensively. In the end, it was just a matter of Ed White making a few more plays and controlling the football down the stretch. But again, turnovers. This was, again, the theme for the night. Wakulla committing 5 turnovers. And anytime you put the ball on the ground like that or you give it back to the other team, it just hurts your chances being able to secure a win, especially with most of our teams on the road. It just really was a tough outing for a lot of our local area teams. Moving on, Childs at home falling to Altuga 42-7. Timberwolves defense gives up 28 unanswered points in the second half in the loss. And then also, again, turnovers. Timberwolves committing 4 turnovers. So, man, maybe just the weather has something to do with it. The lightning and the rain delays can definitely affect your team. You're warmed up, you're ready to go, and then you go into the locker room for an hour. That can do something to the psyche. So, just a really bad outing just across the board for a lot of our local teams. But as we head out to Suwannee, they take on Dixie County. And it looked to be kind of following the same theme as a lot of our other teams were in those poor, wet conditions. But Suwannee just exploded in the second half and was able to turn it around after trailing. They scored 35 unanswered points in the comeback win over the Dixie County Bears on the road. Trailing late in the third quarter, sophomore quarterback Cody Lane engineered a couple of scoring drives just to get the Bulldogs back into contention. And then Suwannee just really cruised in the fourth quarter, jumping out to a big 42-20 lead, 42-20 win over Dixie County. So I don't know what Kyler Hall said to his team at the half, but it obviously made a difference.
Yeah, Mark, when you get a team, you know your team not performing up to their capability, maybe a tough halftime speech, a exciting halftime speech. You don't know what he did to motivate him, but obviously he did the job, and they came out with a victory, and I know he's happy about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Coach Hall said the right words at the right time to get those guys motivated. Moving on, another big winner was Bluntstown. They jump out to a 1-0 start for the 2020 season with a big win over Seminole County in Georgia on the road, 39-0. Tigers defense was dominant, only giving up 70 yards of offense. Running back Amarion Hoover had 41 yards on the ground on 12 carries and 3 scores to lead the offense. Quarterback Josh Pope was only 3 of 5, but also had 3 touchdowns passing. And FSU commit wide receiver DB Jordan Pride, had 21-yard touchdown reception and 1 interception on defense. So putting in work there for the Tigers. Don't want to forget about the linebacker Robert Rosa led the defense with 10 tackles, 1 sack, and 2.5 tackles for a loss. So Tigers were active, and they were among the big winners on Friday. As we move around the area, Jefferson County falling in a tough loss to Trenton, who's a tough football team, 34-28. Hard-fought game. Tigers just come up short, but not without some bright spots. Jazavius Hawkins, all-purpose athlete, kind of powered the Tigers on in their scoring efforts with 3 receptions for 107 yards on offense, 11 rushes for 125 yards, and a kick return with 4 touchdowns. So Tigers definitely got some positivity out of it, even though it was a tough loss. But it's nice to see Bluntstown and Suwanee getting those big wins, and hopefully Jefferson County will be able to turn things around in week number 2.
Yeah, Mark, these things are you got your first game in, and you hope things are turning out right. You make a big change, and your team really improves in the next week because you can find all the weaknesses, all the problems that you have, and it's exposed in that first game. Look for these coaches. We got some great coaches in the Big Bend. And we look for them to make big improvement coming up in the next week.
Now, again, let's also take into consideration that it was just really a hard week. We were under a hurricane warning at the beginning of the week, and the skies opened up. It was really nasty weather across the Big Bend. But some of our other teams were able to make good showings. Port St. Joe was a big winner over Mariana, 56-0, the shutout win. Tiger Sharks opened up the season in grand fashion. Quarterback Colin Avianson was 17 of 23 passing for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also, DJ Oliver, big running back, ran for 100 yards. And on defense at linebacker position, recovered 2 fumbles. Wide receiver Nick Jefferson, there's that man again, added 122 all-purpose yards for the Tiger Sharks. They jump out to a huge win. Then we move around the moving around the area as the Gaston County Jaguars hit the road going down to Clearwater, taking on Clearwater Academy. They fall 19-0. And really, Gaston County has a young football team. They're still trying to put those pieces together as they drop that season opener in a loss on the road. Offense sputtered a little bit. That offensive line are still trying to replace a lot of key guys. They graduated so much talent. And these young kids are really going to have to step up as they gave up 4 sacks and 2 interceptions. And for Coach Fuller, it's just going to be next man up. He's looking for the next kid who's going to step in, play great, and put forth efforts so that this team can get back on track. There's still a ton of talent over there in Gaston County, so don't let this loss fool you about this team. They're definitely reloaded, and it'll be interesting to see how they fare in the rest of their games during the season.
Well, Mark, I talked to Coach Fuller. He was really happy with his defensive performance. He thought they could have did better. You guys really showed up playing a tough team down in Clearwater. And then the offense trying to get things together, and hopefully they think they can get things turned around. They play a tough game next week when they face Florida High, so they got to get to work this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Some other scores from around the area. Sneeze played on Thursday. They were a big winner over Cottondale, 26-6. Lakeland Christian drops John Paul. Panthers on the road in a tough road loss, 29-13. Panthers fall. Lafayette Mayo, a big winner over Brookwood out of Georgia. They take their first win of the season, 64-13. And then Bell downs Franklin County 35-0. And those are your area scores from around the area. Coach, man, hopefully we can rebound. A lot of these teams can rebound in week number 2. Just uncharacteristic play, but we still understand that, like, the weather definitely was a factor. And a lot of teams still trying to plug in for injured players and graduated talent. So down, but maybe not out. It's probably the best theme that we could probably label this rewind, and definitely not one to turn the ball over. Just uncharacteristic for a lot of these teams. But I look for most of everybody to bounce back as you get into your groove. The first 3 weeks kind of tell a lot. Coach, you've been in this position. You actually won a state title where your team really had a lopsided season, did not get into their groove late in the year. So you definitely understand.
Yeah, Coach. Well, Mark, it doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. And so when you get a team and you go through all your mistakes and you kind of figure it out the next week and you get better, the whole idea is to get better and better as you go on through the season. You want to be peaking when the season ends. It's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Absolutely. So this has been the 4Q Rewind on the Extra Point. Want everybody to check back in with us later on this week. We've got another episode dropping where we're going to have to talk about our 4Q top performers. We got some kids we want to recognize that did an excellent job. So want everybody to join us back here later on in the week. This has been the Extra Point. I'm Mark Adams, and for my tag team partner, Coach Cofield, we want everybody to check out fourquartersonline.com. Visit us on social media, Instagram, and follow us on Twitter.